Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's you looking down the barrel of retirement wondering if you've saved enough. And here's the thing, when you're 66, the whole game changes. This isn't about getting rich anymore. This is about not running out of money before you run out of time. So let's talk about what safe actually means when you're retired, because I think a lot of people get this wrong. When you're 25, 30, even 40 years old, safe means diversified portfolio, ride out the storms, time in the market beats timing the market, all that stuff. But at 66, safe means something completely different. It means you can sleep at night. It means the bills get paid every month without you having to check your account balance and sweat. It means if the market crashes 30% next year, you're not eating cat food. Here's what most people don't understand about retirement. It's not just about how much money you have, it's about when you lose it. There's this thing called sequence risk, fancy term for a simple idea. If you lose 20% of your money in year 1 of retirement, you might never recover. Not because the market won't come back, it probably will, but because you're pulling money out to live on while it's down. You're selling low every single month just to keep the lights on. And once that money's gone, it can't grow back. When you're young and you lose 20%, who cares? You've got 30 years of paychecks coming in to buy the dip. At 66, you don't have 30 years of paychecks. You've got maybe 20, 25, 30 years of living to do, and every dollar counts. So safe at this age means steady income, low risk, and honestly, peace of mind. Because what's the point of having money if you're going to spend your retirement stressed out watching the ticker every day? The goal here isn't maximum growth. The goal is steady income you can count on, protection against running out, and simple enough that you're not spending your golden years becoming a day trader. That's the framework we're working with. Not how do I get the highest returns, but how do I make sure I'm covered no matter what happens. All right, so first decision, that mortgage at 6.75%. Should your mom pay it off or keep it and invest the money instead? And I know what some of you are thinking, but stocks return 10% on average. She should invest it. Here's the thing though, that 6.75% interest she's paying, that's guaranteed. Every single year she's losing 6.75% on whatever she owes. Now, if she pays it off, she's essentially earning 6.75% risk-free. No volatility, no market crashes, no sleepless nights. Let's put some numbers on this. Safe bonds right now are paying maybe 4%, 5% if you're lucky. Stocks might return 7%, 8%, 10% over the long run, sure, but that's not guaranteed, and it comes with the risk of losing 30%, 40%, 50% in a bad year. So here's the math. If the bank would pay you 6.75% per year, risk-free, would you take it? Because that's exactly what paying off the mortgage is. It's the bank paying you back all that interest you would have paid them. And beyond the pure math, there's the psychological piece. A lot of people, especially older folks, really don't like having debt. It's stressful. It's a monthly payment you've got to make no matter what. If your mom pays off that mortgage, suddenly she doesn't have that hanging over her head anymore. Her monthly expenses drop, her cash flow improves, she sleeps better. And honestly, at 66, sleeping better might be worth more than an extra 1% or 2% return. Now, there is one case where she shouldn't pay it off. If she's in great health, willing to take some risk, and genuinely believes her portfolio will beat 6.75% over the long haul. But even then, you've got to factor in liquidity. If she takes, say, $200,000 and pays off the mortgage, she's only got $400,000 left to invest. Does she have enough cash cushion for emergencies, medical bills, home repairs? You don't want to lock all your money into your house and then have to take out a home equity loan at 8% when the roof starts leaking. But for most retirees, especially the cautious ones, the ones who just want to know they're going to be okay, paying off a 6.75% mortgage is probably the right move. It's a guaranteed return. It reduces stress, and it frees up monthly cash flow. Plus, a lot of people on Reddit agree with this, and for good reason. Peace of mind is real, and it's valuable. Okay, so let's say she pays off the mortgage, or maybe she doesn't, but either way, now we've got to talk about how to invest what's left. And this is where people get really confused because they hear all this conflicting advice. Put it all in bonds, you're retired. No, you need stocks or inflation will eat you alive. Do a 60-40 portfolio. No, do a target date fund. It's exhausting. Here's the actual answer. Somewhere between 50 to 70% bonds or other fixed income stuff, and 30 to 50% stocks. Not all bonds, not all stocks, a mix. And here's why. If you go 100% bonds, sure, it's stable. You're not going to wake up one day and see your account down 30%, but bonds don't grow much. With inflation running around 2 to 3% a year and bonds maybe paying 4 or 5%, you're barely staying ahead. And if your mom lives another 25, 30 years, which is entirely possible, that money might not last. Inflation is slow, but it's relentless. What costs $1,000 a month today might cost $1,500 in 15 years. If her portfolio isn't growing at least a little bit, she's in trouble. On the other hand, if she goes 100% stocks, she's taking a huge gamble. Yeah, stocks might return 8%, 10% over 30 years, but what if the market drops 40% in year 2 of her retirement? Suddenly, her $600,000 is $360,000, and she's still pulling out $25,000 a year to live on. She's selling stocks at rock-bottom prices just to pay the bills, and those shares can't recover because they're gone. That's sequence risk again. It's brutal, and it's why going all in on stocks at 66 is playing with fire. So the sweet spot is a mix. Think of bonds like rice. Steady, reliable, keeps you fed. Stocks are like farmland, might produce a lot over time, but some years the crop fails. At 66, you need mostly rice, but you still want a little farmland just in case the rice runs low. The exact mix depends on health. If your mom's in great shape, exercises, good genes, expects to live into her 90s, maybe she can afford 40% or even 50% stocks. If she's got health issues, maybe dial it back to 30% stocks, 70% bonds. There's even this old rule of thumb. Take 110, subtract your age, and that's your stock percentage. So at 66, that's about 44% stocks. Not a bad starting point. Now, how do you actually do this without turning into a portfolio manager? 2 simple options. 1, target date funds. These are funds that automatically adjust the mix as you get older. You buy a 2025 or 2030 fund, and it's already balanced for someone in their 60s. Set it and forget it. Literally designed for people who don't want to think about this stuff every day. 2, the 3-fund lazy portfolio. Total U.S. stock market fund, total international stock fund, total bond fund. Something like 40% U.S. stocks, 10% international, 50% bonds. Or 30-10-60 if you want to be more conservative. Rebalance once a year, that's it. Simple, low fees, effective. People on Reddit love this approach for a reason. It works, and it doesn't require you to be a financial genius. The key is, don't overthink it. Don't go 100% one way or the other. Find a balanced mix, use simple, low-cost funds, and stick with it. All right, now here's a strategy that a lot of people miss, and it's honestly one of the biggest levers you can pull. Delaying Social Security until 70. I know, your mom just retired. She probably wants that Social Security check now, right? But hear me out, because the math on this is wild. If she starts taking Social Security at 66, she gets, let's say, $2,000 a month, just as an example. But if she waits until 70, that same benefit jumps to about $2,640 a month. That's a 32% increase, and it lasts for the rest of her life. Every single month for 20, 25, 30 years, she's getting an extra $640. That adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Think of it like this. She's got an orange tree. She can start picking 10 oranges a month right now, or she can wait 4 years and the tree gets bigger, and then she picks 13 oranges a month forever. If she's healthy and has enough money to eat for those 4 years, waiting is almost always the better deal. So how does she bridge the gap from 66 to 70? She pulls from the 401k, maybe $20,000 or $30,000 a year to cover expenses. Yeah, it eats into the nest egg a little, but once she hits 70 and that bigger Social Security check kicks in, she's way ahead. The break-even point is usually around age 80 or 82. If she lives past that, and odds are pretty good she will, delaying is a massive win. Now, while she's pulling from the 401k during those years, here's another move: Roth conversions. This is nerdy, but it matters. When you have money in a traditional 401k, you haven't paid taxes on it yet. And at age 73, the government forces you to start taking money out, required minimum distributions or RMDs. Those withdrawals can push you into a higher tax bracket and cost you a ton. But between 66 and 72, before RMDs kick in, she's in a perfect window. Her income is low, she's not working, she's not taking Social Security yet, so she can convert chunks of her 401k into a Roth IRA, pay taxes on it now at a low rate, and then that money grows tax-free forever. When she pulls from the Roth later, no taxes and no RMDs. The trick is to convert just enough each year to stay in a low tax bracket, maybe the 12% or 22% bracket. Don't convert so much that you jump into the 24% or 32% bracket. Spread it out over several years. If she converts, say, $50,000 a year from age 66 to 72, she could save $50,000 to $100,000 in taxes over the course of her retirement. That's real money. Obviously, if she needs income right now and can't wait for Social Security, this whole strategy doesn't work. She'd have to take Social Security early and maybe supplement with an annuity or something. But if she's got the flexibility, delaying Social Security and doing Roth conversions is a huge, huge win that most people on Reddit don't even talk about. Okay, so now the question is, how much should she actually pull out each year? You've probably heard of the 4% rule. It goes like this. In year one, you take out 4% of your total portfolio. So if she's got $600,000, that's $24,000. Then every year after that, you adjust that amount for inflation. So year two, maybe you take $24,600. Year three, $25,200, and so on. The 4% rule is based on historical data. It worked about 95% of the time over 30-year periods. But here's the catch. It only works if your other expenses are covered. If Social Security is already paying for half your living costs, then pulling 4% from your portfolio is probably fine. But if Social Security isn't enough, or if she doesn't have it yet, 4% might not cut it. Or worse, it might drain the account too fast. And here's the other thing. You've got to be flexible. If the market crashes 30% in year one and her $600,000 drops to $420,000, she can't keep pulling out $24,000 a year like nothing happened. That's pulling out almost 6% of a smaller portfolio, and that's how you run out of money. In a year like that, she's got to cut back, maybe pull 3% or 3.5% instead. Tighten the belt a little, let the portfolio recover. On the flip side, if the market's doing great and the portfolio's up, she can pull a bit more. The key word is flexible. The 4% rule is a guideline, not a straitjacket. Think of it like this. She's got a fish pond, and every year she catches 4% of the fish to eat. If the pond is healthy and the fish are reproducing, great, it lasts forever. But if there's a bad year and a bunch of fish die and she keeps catching 4%, pretty soon the pond's empty. She's got to adjust based on how the pond's doing. Now, some people on Reddit swear by the 4% rule plus a target date fund. And honestly, for a simple, hands-off approach, that's not bad. If Social Security covers the basics and she's just supplementing with 4% from the portfolio, she's probably going to be fine. But if the situation is more complicated, if she needs more income, or if there's no Social Security safety net, then 4% rigid might not be the answer. All right, let's talk about annuities for a second, because this comes up a lot. An annuity is basically this. You give an insurance company a big chunk of money, say $100,000, and in return, they send you a check every month for the rest of your life. It's like buying your own private pension. And for some people, especially people who are really worried about outliving their money, it makes sense. The benefit is obvious: guaranteed income, no matter how long you live. If she buys an annuity and lives to 95, she keeps getting that check. It's insurance against living too long, which sounds weird, but it's a real concern. The downside, once you hand over that money, it's gone. You can't get it back. If she puts $100,000 into an annuity and then gets hit by a bus 2 years later, that money doesn't go to her kids. It stays with the insurance company. Also, most annuities don't adjust for inflation unless you pay extra for that feature, and those inflation-adjusted ones pay out way less. So if she buys an annuity that pays $500 a month, that's $500 today, $500 in 10 years, $500 in 20 years. But 20 years from now, $500 won't buy nearly as much. It's a real problem. So when should she use an annuity? Only if Social Security isn't covering her basic needs and she's really anxious about running out of money. And even then, only put maybe 10% or 20% of her total savings into it, just enough to cover the essentials like housing, food, utilities. Keep the rest invested so she has flexibility and growth potential. When shouldn't she use an annuity? If Social Security plus the 4% withdrawal is already enough to live on, skip it. If she wants to leave money to her kids, skip it. If she needs flexibility in her spending, skip it. Annuities are tools for a very specific situation, not a one-size-fits-all solution. And honestly, a lot of the people selling annuities are getting big commissions, so be careful. Make sure you're working with someone who's legally required to put your interests first. That's called a fiduciary advisor. Speaking of which, here's the thing. Everything I just walked you through, paying off the mortgage, building a portfolio, delaying Social Security, Roth conversions, the 4% rule, annuities, all of that is general advice. Your mom's situation is unique. Her health, her expenses, her tax situation, whether she lives in a state that taxes Social Security, what her Medicare costs are, whether she's got long-term care insurance, whether she wants to leave an inheritance. All of that matters, and it all interacts in complicated ways. That's why, honestly, she should talk to a financial advisor. Not just any advisor, a fiduciary advisor, someone who's legally obligated to put her interests first and doesn't make money by selling her expensive products. A lot of the big brokerages like Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard offer free or low-cost planning tools and advisors. For someone with $600,000, paying a fiduciary 0.3% or 0.5% a year, that's like $1,800 to $3,000, is probably worth it if it means avoiding one big mistake. Because here's the reality. Optimizing Social Security alone could save her $50,000 to $100,000 over her lifetime. Getting the Roth conversions right could save another $50,000 in taxes. Those are real numbers, and a good advisor will help her model all of that out. They'll run scenarios. What if she lives to 85? What if she lives to 95? What if the market crashes next year? What if her health declines and she needs expensive care? You can learn a lot from Reddit, from videos like this, from books and articles, but at the end of the day, Reddit doesn't know your mom's health history. Reddit doesn't know her state tax situation. Reddit is great for ideas, terrible for personalized advice. So use it as a starting point, but don't use it as a substitute for sitting down with a professional who can actually look at her full picture and say, here's what makes sense for you. All right, let's wrap this up. Here's the framework. First, seriously consider paying off that mortgage if the interest rate is higher than what safe investments are paying. It's a guaranteed return and it simplifies life. Second, build a balanced portfolio, somewhere around 50 to 70% bonds, 30 to 50% stocks. Don't go all in on either. Use simple, low-cost funds like target date funds or a basic 3-fund portfolio. Third, if she's healthy, delay Social Security until 70. Bridge the gap by pulling from the 401k. That bigger check at 70 is worth way more over a lifetime. Fourth, while she's in that low-income window from 66 to 72, do Roth conversions to cut down on future taxes and avoid big RMDs later. Fifth, use the 4% rule as a starting point for withdrawals, but stay flexible. If the market tanks, pull less. If it's booming, she can pull a bit more. Sixth, only consider an annuity if she's really worried about outliving her money and Social Security isn't enough. And even then, only put 10 to 20% into one. Keep the rest liquid and growing. And finally, actually do the work. Go to the Social Security website and check what her estimated benefits are. Write down all her monthly expenses. Be honest, be detailed. Use the free planning tools from Schwab or Fidelity to model this stuff out. And if it feels overwhelming, find a fiduciary advisor and pay them to help. It's worth it. The goal here isn't to hit some magic number or to squeeze every last dollar out of the market. The goal is to set up a system where she's got steady, reliable income coming in every month. She's protected against the big risks, and she can actually relax and enjoy retirement instead of stressing about money. That's what safe means at 66. Not zero risk, that's impossible, but manageable risk, predictable income, and peace of mind. Set it up right once, check in once or twice a year, make small tweaks as needed, and then go live life. That's the whole point.